Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast and I'm your host Mike. Joining me today we have Neil, and we also hopefully, if I've worked out how to do it, we'll be hearing from Josh as well. We're going to be talking about our draw with Crewe and look forward to the match against Crawley on Tuesday. Obviously we've had a great couple of days with the 125th birthday celebrations, and we're all very, very excited and feeling very, very old when we're working out how much percentage of Sutton's history we've been involved in, and mine was 28%, which is very upsetting, to be fair. Don't forget you can help with costs to support the show with one-off donations or regular subscriptions by joining us on Patreon. If you want to know more, look for the supporters page on the website or drop us an email and I'll give you all the details. So we're going to get into it. I believe it was the preview for I can't remember which game we actually did, but it was the preview for the Harrogate game. So it was mid-January or mid to late January, I think, the last time we spoke, Neil. How have you been since?
Been fine, thank you, Mike. Been away on holiday, so I've missed matches and not even been able to see the Twitter feed because I've been in the air. So that's very, very anxious when you suddenly land at either end and you go to the BBC website to see what the result is. So two 2-0 wins was great, and then obviously I was able to watch all of the full match replays from my hotel. So. That was good. I was really happy on holiday, which made, of course, my wife pleased because I was happy on holiday and not a grumpy old man.
Excellent. Hello, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. Just finished a football match. I won. So that's the first in many years. But yeah, feeling good.
You must have had some good teammates. Anyway, last time we had you on was after the Gillingham game.
Yeah.
Craig Eastman's late winner.
Yeah.
How have you been since?
I've been good. Went to Canada last week. It was really fun. Apart from that, same old, just chilling, working. Yeah, feeling good.
So just before we get into the match, there obviously various bits of news, but the one literally just as we were trying to come on air, the ladies' match, which kicked off only at 4:00 today, they were 1-0 up. They got pegged back to 1-1. Then I think it was 2-1 at half time. Then it went to 3-1. Then they called it back to 3-2, 3-3. With just minutes to go, they scored a goal. Lily scored a great goal. According to Ahmed, he got very excited, and it made it 4-3. They were hanging on, and literally the last kick of the match, because the ref blew the whistle at that point, 4-4. And that was just before we came on air, so I haven't had any reaction. So it's 4-4 for the ladies' team in what sounded like an incredibly exciting match. And yeah, we'll kind of get on to the ultimate 11.
And now, 125 years in the making. The Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. Sutton United all-time ultimate 11.
Very nice. I like that.
So Josh, you are the first to give a challenge to the ultimate team. You were sent out the ultimate team in advance to do your homework.
Yeah.
And you have 11 players to choose from, and you can pick any of those players to say, well, I'd like them to be replaced with X player. Who is it you would like to be in the team, and who are they replacing?
Well, a player I would like to be in the team is Rory Deacon, and I think the only reason for it is that FA Cup run. I mean, he was so good, so instrumental into that cup run, and if only that shot against Arsenal was just below the bar, really good. But apart from that, I really liked his style of play, direct, taking players on quick, and I think he went on to good things after he left Sutton. I don't know if he went to Dundee or something like that. Maybe was that.
He went to Dundee, then he came back, and he was with us and didn't do so well. And I think he went to Havant. I think he's at Maidstone now.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll judge him on his first stint with Sutton. And the player replacing, I mean, I'm looking at both those wingers, and obviously they played yesterday as well. I'm going to take off Will Randall. Okay. I'm going to put him on the left, Rory. I think that will add a little bit more pace on the wings as well, and a little bit more direct as well. I think Will is good. I like Will. I think Rory just a little bit of an upgrade, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to go to a vote, and it will be Will Randall versus Rory Deacon.
Fingers crossed.
Neil, what is your choice?
Right. So the person I'm challenging is Jason at centre back. So I'm going to do that and then run. And the person I'm going to challenge him with is a name from the past who I'm putting in on his sheer ability and talent. Plus, also, he was my first Sutton player as a 9-10-year-old who was my hero. And that was John Faulkner at centre back. So one of the club's greats, played in the Sutton Leeds match, and so impressed Don Revie, even though we lost 6-0, because he completely marked Mick Jones out the game, that he basically signed him a few weeks later. So I think he was our first of the players to sort of make it straight from non-league straight to, first division to arguably the best team in Europe at that stage. And he was going to be cover for Jack Charlton. So he played twice for Leeds, unfortunately scored an own goal in his first match. And then in the second match, which I think was against Man City, so the first one was against Burnley, he fractured his patella, colliding with one of his own team, was out for a year, then came back, played a couple of European games, and then got transferred ultimately to Luton Town. And I believe he played over 200 games for Luton, who I think were in League Two. No, actually, yeah, League Two. So that was in old money. So that would have been second division, championship.
Yeah, championship. Yeah.
So he was a great player, and he just seemed to be one of those players. He had so much time on the ball, partly because he was so good. So basically, that's why I would put him in my ultimate team. And as I said, he was my hero. I was heartbroken when he got transferred.
Oh, perfect. I'll put that in there, and we won't tell Goody that you chose it.
Yeah.
Lovely. So we're going to have a quick chat about the match now. As mentioned, we were all kind of watching it from a similar position on the pitch, and therefore we had similar views. Josh, let's start with the obvious. The blue badge, they kind of put the badge out, and it's like, oh, okay. And then the two teams come running out, and one had a blue stripy kit on. It's like, oh, have we gone to blue? Took a minute to realise we were in red. What were your thoughts on the red kit?
I think a little bit less than everyone else, because I saw the warm-up from Real Randall was wearing red socks. So I was like, it's going to be red? Really? But yeah, I mean, everyone's reaction was like, what's this? We didn't even know who, where Sutton were when they playing. But I mean, being a Man United fan as well, I mean, I like the reds. It looked nice, but I don't think it fit kind of, Sutton United, amber and chocolate, it was kind of it just threw us a little bit. Yeah.
It just didn't seem right. I'm sorry, I to me, it just seemed all wrong, because obviously we were standing with the infamous Jenny, who decided that she didn't want to watch Swindon Town, and it just didn't seem right. And the guys, I think, didn't seem, incapable of passing to a red player, because obviously in their minds, that's the opposition. And for some bizarrely, psychologically, I think it made our players look smaller. I know that sounds absolutely daft, but they didn't look as
as big.
dominating, and they didn't look as huge and massive and physical in red. I think it must be a slimming colour.
Well, just like a little chat about it as well, and I'll put that in as well. But one of the reasons, or the reason, sorry, I didn't know this certainly, is that on the merger between the two teams, the two colours were amber and chocolate and red, and then in wonderful Sutton United style, they saw that the amber and chocolate was cheaper, so they went with the amber and chocolate at the time when they formed. So we've always been on the cheap, which is wonderful. It keeps with tradition that we still are. But this was a nod to the other team that wore red, and that's why. I mean, there's some lovely features which you didn't really realise obviously during the game, but when you got to see the pitch, the kit afterwards. Every player who's ever played a first team match for us is sort of in the back, the same as on the black kit. I think it's going to be our third kit, so I don't think we're going to see it that often. But it did kind of have Carl Shorten vibes, and it was like, whoa, what's going on here? Which I think led to not necessarily the players, because as I said to Josh, the players will play in training bibs, bright yellow, bright orange, blues, whatever. So they know who's on their own team. But I do think it had a little reaction on the crowd, because it did kind of come as a bit of a, what the hell is this? Why are we playing in Crewe's away kit, the home kit? So I think we were a bit flat for a little while, and it possibly then had a knock on to the players.
Let me put it this way. I mean, I think the loudest noise of the game was when they threw a hat onto the stands and they were cheering. And I mean, I can't blame them. I think they were thrown a little bit. And I think obviously all of our songs about being amber and yellow and everything like that, we couldn't really say that. But no, I mean, always the fans are passionate when you saw that at the end when we got the goal. But yeah, I think it was just a bit thrown. I think everyone was just thinking, why are we in red? So it's fine. It's fine.
I think it had an effect, whether you can say it had a big effect or not. I mean, you can't say the players didn't know what they're doing, because it doesn't matter what kit they're wearing. In training, they wear fluorescent bibs.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They manage to find their teammates. So
yeah,
it's not really going to affect them there. But in fairness, a red kit, studies have proven red is a successful colour. I mean, you just got to think of the teams that are most successful in British football, and you've got Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal up there. They all play in red. So who knows? We're unbeaten in red.
Yeah, true. And I personally think it would be better if they had red shorts.
Maybe, yeah. Although certainly a few of the players love it. One of the players was very, very keen on it. Eastie definitely liked the red with the white numbers. Kobe also mentioned that he liked it, and I know there's a few other Arsenal fans in there as well who are clearly keen on it. So we're gonna see. It's gonna, I think, be either the second or the third kit. I would imagine the third, because there's no point in being the second kit, because so many teams play in red anyway.
Well, I saw the lineup. I was kind of the same as you. I mean, Ali obviously is a big miss. He's been playing really well recently and getting amongst the goals and performing well. But I thought, Harry's come in. You've got that's a really experienced midfield. So I'm still thinking, that's a good midfield. Hopefully, Ali can come back soon. I don't know how long is he injured at the moment. I don't know how long he's out for.
I think he'll be out. I think he should be okay for Tuesday.
Oh, okay, but yeah, I mean, I was looking at it. I was pretty happy. It was a good, strong lineup, and yeah, I mean, we'll get to the result a little bit later, but overall first thoughts, it was good. Yeah, good team.
Now, I knew you had a little sneak preview, maybe, of the lineup. Not a preview, but you knew some of the dangers without breaking any of Matt's confidences. What were your thoughts when you saw the lineup? Now, I think I said to you that of all the players that could be missing, the two you kind of would have accepted would have been Ali and Sam, because we've got replacements for them. If it had been Jack, no, this is absolutely no disrespect to any of the players we've got who would have filled in, but if it would have been Jack, you would have been a little bit worried, because he's been immense for us. If it would have been one of the central defenders, because we've had to shift everyone around. But what were your thoughts on the lineup?
Well, as I said, it was exactly what I expected because we saw the patients. Sorry, we saw the players on the treatment benches when we visited the training ground on Tuesday. Jack was at home because basically he got trod on by Kobe at the end of the Newport game.
Yeah.
I think Kobe had trod on him. I thought it was the post, but no, he got trod on. So because he lives such a long way away, and Tuesday is the intensive training day, he stayed at home because I think he lives up Solihull, Birmingham area.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then Ali was on the attached to some bizarre machine that was stimulating his lower leg. Basically, looked to be jolly uncomfortable. Sam was strapped up, and as I said, Donovan was having some, basically torture worked on his hamstring and things like that. So it seemed, looking at what was on the board, it seemed obvious that probably of those, Sam was the only one who was likely to make it. The others, it didn't look like it. But obviously, we were told not to sort of try and keep it under our hats.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course, Matt. I mean, it was John, I think, about a year ago who was on here saying it, and he said literally he will scour social medias, try and find anything about players being injured, and it gives you just that little advantage when you know someone's not going to be playing. So we're talking all the fine margins now, and we're part of that professionalism, so we've got to keep things a bit close to our chest. On that, I mean, I know you didn't stay for the celebrations afterwards, but it was just it's insane how open and accessible everything is. They decided to have a little tour, and I think they massively underestimated who would be interested to look around the changing rooms and the boardroom, because there was loads of us and all the players were still in the changing room, and it was like, hello, how are you? A little chat with Luke. But yeah, it's just really insane seeing all these things. Told me their 18 was the one who did a foul early on, and he ran away, and one of their other players got booked.
Yeah. I thought it was a little bit weird. I saw 18 do the foul. He ran away back into the defence, and then the two that were arguing, one of them got the yellow card, I'm guessing, for what he said, or I don't know if it was a challenge or for what he said. But I just thought he should be on a yellow going into that second half, and he got taken off before he could get another yellow. So
because he got on a yellow anyway.
Yeah. So it was a bit weird.
But first half, their number 18, it was Josh that pointed it out, because obviously I'm basically blind. He put a challenge in and probably should have been booked, but he scarpered away, and two other players came over to sort of demonstrate a referee, and one of them got booked, and Josh was like, no, that should have been the 18 that was booked.
Yeah.
Did you see that at that point, or?
No, I only picked on what Josh said. I think they were very clever. That was a good tactic, divert the referee, and I suspect to the referee, if he doesn't really know the team, so the players can all look very similar. So.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that obviously one of these players said something, and that's why they got booked. We don't actually know why they got booked, but certainly the 18 was a little bit naughty. I mean, as I said to Josh, they spent the whole week saying what brutes and monsters we were and all the rest of it. And there was a reporter there from the London News, not Will, but I think the guy who runs the site, and he actually was there with the Crewe official account saying, no, it's you guys doing all the tactical fouls here. And I think in his match sum up, he even mentioned that very versed in the dark arts.
Yeah.
But I mean, what did you think?
I think they out Sutton, to be honest, really, because they were exceedingly physical. I think they came for a point. I don't think they've had any ambitions to win the game. They forced Will and David to be very wide, and we just couldn't get the ball out to them in enough space, and then they just couldn't get past and around the back. So they really nullified us. We looked flat, and I think the excesses of the last three matches sort of caught up with us a little bit, and perhaps expectation, perhaps overwhelmed them a little bit. I don't know.
But, I mean, yeah, we touched on that when I spoke to Josh earlier. It's a bit strange. Again, I don't know. I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone mentioned that on the 4th of March 2021, Crewe were flying high in League One, and we were mid-table in National League, and now we're kind of upset. I don't think upset, but we're miffed at a draw with Crewe. Whereas actually in years gone by, that would have been actually an outstanding result. So it does show how far we've come. But how do you think we played with the 10 then, when they finally got someone sent off?
I think it was kind of the same. I think you forgot they had a red card. it's like we performed. It was kind of like, yeah, okay, we got 30 minutes now, extra man. Let's go for it. Let's get more crosses into the box. That was one thing that I thought. Definitely first half that we weren't getting it into the box, and we've got like a 6'4" striker. So it's and then second half you're thinking, okay, yeah, red card. We're gonna have a lot more shots, a lot more. And it didn't really happen. It kind of felt the same as before the red card. So I think we struggled in that respect. But I mean, we got a draw. We got a decent result. It's not like we didn't get any points, and we are still in a good position. So we can't be too critical. I mean, I know we've had really good games going up until this one, but I think if you look at it in overall perspective, it's still all right. It's a good result.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to feel bad about this and reset on a draw, that's clearly not the end of the world.
Yeah.
If we can start another little run of wins.
We woke up.
Yeah.
It seemed that the substitutions seem to re-energise us. I think the crowd, by that stage, with their man being sent off, and that is one of the most blatant sendings off. I thought it looked bad at the time from the side of the pitch, but you watch the highlight, you watch it back on the highlights reel, and that's a very high kick.
I think he was
top of the chest. It really is. Eric Cantona in the crowd, kung fu kick.
I think he was walking off before the referee even got over to him. I think he was like, "Yeah, fair cop, Gov."
Yeah, and I don't think nobody really protested about that. He was banged to rights. He really was.
But the 18 that then also got subbed. Well, I can't remember if that was before then or after then. But the 18 got subbed because
that was earlier, just after half time. Yeah,
because he'd picked up a yellow, and they clearly knew that he was walking a tightrope. But niche information, but Kobe 3 in a row, and Josh and I discussed earlier, and I think it was Ed Marsh, actually, I looked it up. I put a little tweet out saying about showing the pictures of Kobe celebrating, and Ed was like, I wonder when the last time anyone ever scored 3 in a row wearing 3 different colour kits. So that's definitely a niche stat for someone to look into, not me.
That is a good one.
Yeah, Kobe, once again, I mean, he was, last few minutes, he was basically staying up front. Why not? He's one of our top high scorers. But did you feel, because I certainly did you feel that if the game had gone on another 5 minutes, that we would have won that?
Yes, I think we would. As I said, they'd woken up enough. They were energised at that point. The crowd, of course, were getting... I think, the crowd, we were getting corner after corner. We were getting crosser and crosser with their goalkeeper. And for his constant infringements and, pinching inches, feet, and then even yards with where he was taking his goal kicks and his free kicks. So that was getting us rolled up. I think then the players were picking up on it. I think they suddenly thought, we did stand a chance. To sneak another one, and I think time-wise, I think that would have happened.
Yeah, I think Alex made a point you overheard where, as we were getting more annoyed with the keeper and screaming for the referee and linesmen to do something, he was just give them those 2 inches, because us making the referee get him to move it back is wasting even more time than what it gained from those 2 inches. It's like, oh yeah, but it gets into your head. And I think Taz was shouting that, why do they do it? And someone said to him, it's because it annoys people like you. It winds you up. And all right, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, he was obviously good at what he does. And Matt, I don't think he mentioned it, but he's mentioned it before in one of his other interviews. If we were doing it or when we were doing it, we love it. So we got to accept it when it happens to us as well. I think it's easier to accept when we got the draw out of it. If we'd lost, we'd probably be fuming about it. But we keep the run going. We have dropped down a little bit on the form table, so because the draw takes us down a little bit, but we're still up there. I think a little gap has opened up now between us and the playoffs. I think it's like 4 points now, which isn't the end of the world because we've still got plenty of time left. But I mean, in general, are you still feeling confident of the playoffs? I am.
I am the internal pessimist, but even I'm still feeling optimistic. Because I think us now are in a better place than us last year, and look how well we did with sort of in 6. Was it 5 out the last 6 or 6 out the last 7?
No, I think we did lose 2. I think we lost to Barrow and obviously Bradford.
Yeah. But anyway, that was the point. That our sort of late run was very good. So we can't keep on winning. You're going to get the odd hiccup. Look, Leighton Orient drew yesterday. Stockport drew. Swindon drew. I know it was at Orient, but so that's the point. The other teams don't always keep winning. So I think we need to realise that, we could be like Stevenage, who seem to have been virtually imploding now. So from that point of view, I think, we're still in a good place. Win on Tuesday, and we deserve to get something from Barrow, don't we? Really, that's after last season.
Well, I was saving this bit for the Barrow talk because I was thinking, we definitely need to. We owe them a little bit for what happened up there last season, and then I was like, they're probably saying the exact same thing about what happened at ours, that they owe us for what happened to ours with Brad flapping the ball.
Yeah. I just that just occurred to me as well. So can we edit that out?
No. He didn't touch it, Ref. Anyway, but before we move on to the Crawley match, which we'll do in a second, rather stupidly, I just realised I didn't actually ask Josh for his Player of the Day nominations. So I'm going to have to pick some myself, which is irritating. So I'll let you go first. Give me a couple of seconds thinking time. Who's your first option for Player of the Day?
Now watch me do my dance. I'm the Player of the Day.
Well, it's obvious. He was awesome at the back, and then that was a very, very good header. It was good on the day, but it was even better when you watch it going back. That was a perfect header, so it's got to be Kobe.
Kobe, lovely. Well, I'm going to pick Jack. I thought he made a few great saves just in the first half, kind of not kept us in it, but we needed him. So yeah, I'm going to go with Jack. Who's your second choice?
He's had better games for us, but I have to commend his workload and the shift that he put in, and I'm going to go for Lee.
Lee, yeah, lovely. Right, okay, let's have a little think. I think it's probably going to be Omar, the other battler up front. I mean, he didn't get booked. That's nearly got booked, but he didn't actually get booked. So I think I'll go with Omar, and we will see. So there's the player votes. Player of the Day, it will be up between Kobe, Jack, Lee, and Omar. Earlier on, I spoke to Matt, who's a long-time Crawley fan, and I'm going to slot the interview in right here. So you're going to have to listen to it later on, Bill, if you want to hear it.
Okay, so my name's Matt. I'm a Crawley Town fan, coming from a family of Chelsea fans. I've been a Crawley fan for as long as I can remember, really, as long as I've been able to get a bus to get me away on a Saturday. It was great for a short period, but the last year in particular has been rather draining being a Crawley fan, as I'm sure a lot of people will be aware.
Right, so automatically as a Crawley fan, my back's up and I'm like, right, I'm not going to like this fella, but then you steered away from Chelsea, so therefore you steered away from from the path of the devil to the path of righteousness. So, and I mean, it's a lower league club. I'm Sutton Sport. We're playing at the highest position we've ever been in our entire history. So, but there is just something a bit better about supporting a lower league club. The fact that you can wander into the bar afterwards and there's the players and just little things like that you just wouldn't get at Chelsea. So how long roughly have you been supporting? You said since you were very young.
I would say about 20 years.
Oh, excellent! Yeah, so it's still better than it was. I know you're struggling this season, but you're still better than it was. So how's the recent form been? I know. Basically, I normally ask people to talk me through the highs and lows of the season at this point, but if you could talk me through the lows and the not so lows of the season, then that'd be really better.
Okay, so I think the highlight of our season is arguably a win over like a Fulham reserve team in the Carabao Cup. We've lost our last 6, I think, now after yesterday. We've not won away from home since last April. It's been a catastrophic season. I think we've had more club statements than we've had wins this season.
Yeah, there was a period. It was like, oh, what's the next picture going to be? Is it going to be just an angle with a corner flag?
I was going to say we're out of corner flags. I think at this point it's now moved on to seats. And a picture of one of the chairmen in the dressing room. So I think they're running low on ideas. I feel sorry for the media team. I'll say that much.
So I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, some of the ideas you try and keep an open mind when someone new comes into football. Some of the ideas, obviously, you think, oh, do you know what? Let's see how that works. I personally, I thought it was a bit weird that he wanted to sit on the bench, but I kind of understood it from his point of view. He doesn't know enough about it, and he thought that's the best way of learning, and then didn't really realise that how that would be perceived. So from an outsider's point of view, it's like, oh, this is fun. this is car crash. But what's it like, kind of? There, just like what are they going to do next? I mean, you're signing YouTubers for a reserve team that doesn't exist, as far as anyone knows.
Oh, it's fantastic. They can't keep up with their own lies, or that's how it seems from our perspective. I mean, it's horrendous. There was a point, I think. Well, it still kind of is now, like where you're sat there wondering what, like you say, what on earth are they going to do next? Because it only seems to get worse. I mean, the like you mentioned, when he put himself on the bench, that was a particular low, especially when he asked how substitutions work. It just really summed it up. I think my favourite image of this season is there's an image of Preston during the warm-up of that game at Stevenage. And he's there in like boot-cut jeans and jeans taking the warm-up. You've never seen it. It's just such a weird image because it's so out of place.
I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, it's just been awful.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say, because I've said this to Stephen, who was on as well. When they kind of took over, I think it was a tail end of the last season.
April.
It was a lot of crypto money. We're going to win the league. I think they even tweeted out something of, can we skip League 2, please? Well, the answer is yes, we can. But there was quite a few Crawley fans who, I mean, probably the young ones on Twitter and Insta and all the rest of it, jumping up and down with delight that they've got all this extra money. Where some old gits like me, different clubs going, you need to find out where that money is. It's not, is it real money or is it just fake money? I mean, what were your initial thoughts, if you can remember? I know things have gone pear-shaped since, but were you kind of like open-minded, or were you a bit sceptical at the time?
I'll be honest, I was completely sceptical from the start because as someone that, obviously NFTs and stuff were quite popular in the year or so before the takeover, and obviously you saw what happened with those. I went in with a massive amount of skepticism and was making jokes to my friends that we'd be going to the Conference South within a few years. It's one of those times in life where, like, you wish you weren't right, but it does look like it's going that way. I mean, the only time when I actually felt a little bit of optimism about the whole thing was when we signed Dom Telford.
Yeah.
Because that was a good signing. And that was the one point where I thought, okay, this might be all right. But very quickly, very quickly after that, I realised it was not what I thought it was going to be.
This fellow who's involved, he was in a company called Stats Bomb or something, and he's very sort of on the football stats, which, you know what, it works on some levels. Matt Gray, our manager, heavily into stats, hugely into stats. He uses them to decide when he's going to make his substitutions, because he's got periods of, right, I know this player's going to be peak, blah, blah, blah. So heavily into stats. So they can work, but things like getting rid of, was it Nichols? Because the stats were saying he's not going to perform, and now he's gone to Gillingham, and he was too old and too something else to be
too small,
and he scored too small, and he scored loads of goals. It's like, it's not always bits of paper and spreadsheets, is it?
No.
But who's left? Who should we be looking out for?
I'll be honest, there's not a lot. I mean, you mentioned about Nichols there. Those were excuses. There's something else that's gone on behind the scenes that then they haven't talked about. We've also got rid of a lot of other senior players, as you will probably know, because again, they've had disagreements behind the scenes. So realistically, thinking about what our threats are, I'll be completely honest with you. I couldn't tell you. I went to Orient a few weeks ago. I took some friends from work for their first Crawley Town experience, and I'm not kidding you, we didn't have a shot on target. We're crying out as fans, please sign a centre forward. We need a goal scorer, because Telford just isn't cutting it. I would probably, as a cop-out, say Telford, because obviously banged the goals in for fun last year. But he is not on form at the moment. He missed a penalty the other night. So, I couldn't tell you at the moment.
He was one a few of our fans, because we don't have goals coming from strikers. Quite simply, we don't have strikers scoring loads of goals. And a few fans were banging on when he wasn't signing his contract at Newport, saying we should be in for him. And he's kind of looking a bit deeper to his stats outside of a real golden period last year, where I think it was about 5 or 6 months where everything he touched went in. Hasn't actually scored a huge amount of goals, and I think he kind of dried up in January, February time last year. So he did score loads of goals, absolutely, but this run of bad form has been a while. And I'm going to regret this probably, but he doesn't really always do it against Sutton. So it's like, hey, go on. And you had a period with no goalkeepers as well. I think when we were supposed to play you, the original match, it was like they've just sent their other goalkeeper back. They've literally got one goalkeeper or no goalkeepers on the books. Has that been sorted now, or?
Firstly, I hope what you just said about Telford does come back to bite you, because that would be quite amusing. But with the goalkeeper situation, we went from, it was in the space of a week, actually. We had, I think, 5 goalkeepers on the books, because we had Glenn Morris coming back, who I'm sure you'll know is a fantastic keeper at this level, and is now quite rightly Gillingham's number one, because he's superb. So we let him go, because again, I think there's been some sort of disagreement behind the scenes. But also at the time, we had Ellery Balcom in on loan from Brentford, who's fantastic, and obviously at that point was our number one. So I think a combination of things, they decided to let Morris go, because obviously he also wants to play first team football. We then had a loan for a youngster from Hull expired. And I can't remember the situation with the last one. I think they were just released. I can't even remember who it was. It's been that much of a draining season. So we went down to one goalkeeper who will probably be playing against you. The fans, every time the ball comes near the box, we're very nervous. He's about 6'8", but couldn't catch a cold.
Nice.
So in the interim, we did on deadline day bring in a loanee from Huddersfield. He was all right on his debut, But then I think he proceeded to concede 4 within 25 minutes against Carlisle. So then if you've not got much in front of you, can you blame the goalkeeper?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know how old you are. I'm old enough to remember years back, Kevin Keegan was in charge of Newcastle, who was scoring goals for absolute fun. And I think they played West Ham and they beat them something like 8-9-0. And Kevin Keegan came off and went, that goalkeeping performance was the finest goalkeeping performance you will ever see. And it's like, how can you say that? The goalkeeper's let in 8 goals. And I mean, you looked at it, he had 49 shots on target that he'd actually saved 41 of them. The keeper was going, that is the best goalkeeping display I've ever seen in my life. You know, just battling. But yeah, it's difficult because if the ball just keeps coming, then what can you do? I mean, I've played in goal once and I told the guys in front of me, anything on target's going in. So it's your job to make sure there's nothing coming. So it's a difficult one. So are you going to come to Sutton, or are you just like, no, I'm not traipsing around for this?
Well, I was going to the initial game because it was on a Saturday. I literally got to the point where I had my train ticket. I'd got onto the train. I don't live in Crawley either. I live in Tunbridge Wells now.
Right.
So away games like Sutton and Wimbledon and in London are actually easier to get to than home games.
Yeah.
So I was really looking forward to it, despite the fact that we were probably going to lose. It's football. It's part of the game. Yeah, but now it's been moved to midweek. I don't know if I can because of work. I missed the last Sutton away as well because I was in Chile. So
midweek as well, yeah. But we weren't overly happy ourselves. I happened to be at the ground, and one of the accountants was wandering around, and he was just like, thousands. We've lost thousands on this because, I mean, in fairness to the referee, people had a look at the pitch about 4:00. And it was that bit of the pitch where he said, no, that's not going to fall out, was still frozen. So actually, at the time it was a bit annoying and we did lose loads of money. And again, lots of your fans were like, we're literally only half an hour down the road, just leave it. But in fairness to the referee, it was right to be called off because there was no chance of that bit. I think, especially from a selfish point of view, we just signed David Ajiboye back and we didn't want him running down the wing and getting injured on his first game. So that was really quite stressful. So do you have any predictions or thoughts on the game? Well, just get it out the way.
Yeah, probably that. But I also, I don't know if I'm mistaken or if I've heard this wrong yesterday. I think you guys are the top scorers at home in the league, barring the top 2.
Don't know that, but it may well be, but I don't.
That's what I think I heard yesterday. We've lost our last 6, as I touched on earlier. We've not won away from home since last April, so we've actually played you and lost to you at your place since our last away win. So all the signs are pointing to a comfortable evening for yourselves, but I've got to be optimistic and say that we need to pick up points from somewhere. So at this point, I would snap your hand off for a point, but I think you'll win.
We're nowhere near the top. We've scored 21 goals at home. Maybe they're talking about the last 15 games or so because we've
it must be
last sort of 15 games. But we're nowhere near the top score. I would have been surprised because we don't score that many. I don't think we've scored more than 2 all season. That's going to bite me, and someone's going to point out yesterday. But never mind. But as you say, everything's pointing towards a nice Sutton win. But as I said earlier, probably Don Telford's going to go, right, you know, shit. I mean, he's going to score a hat-trick against us. Well, I do hope the season turns for you, obviously, from Wednesday onwards. And it starts getting happier again. I mean, sometimes, I know Oldham fans, for example, last year when they went down, it was the end of the world, and a few of them are now going, actually, do you know what, this league's all right, we're not the end of the world. But you guys have been in the National League before, and you know exactly how difficult it is to get out of. It's not called the Bastard League for no reason at all. But I hope things start getting happier and you guys get to enjoy going to football, not just to see how much more misery they can pile up on you for another week. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Probably have messed up royally. So I'm going to say it now. Well, it's going to go out anyway, because I'm going to say that Dom Telford never really has a good game against Sutton. He doesn't do much. He's off form.
No.
And I was like, oh, great. He's probably going to score a hat-trick now. But, yeah, I mean, Crawley is hard because sometimes there's a little bit of me that, and when it happened to Carl Shilton all those years ago, a little bit of joy of, haha, isn't that funny? And then it gets to a certain point and it's like, oh, God, I just wanted to stop for them. I really feel bad for them now. I don't mind a little bit of disaster, but they just seem to be absolutely in free fall. What's your thoughts on the whole Crawley thing?
It's an absolute fiasco. It's I can't believe a club can get themselves in such a huge mess. They got totally sort of seduced by the potential financial benefits of all this crypto money, which I don't know, NTFs or whatever they are. But I don't understand them at all. It's totally alien, and it seems to have all backfired on them. They got so many players in that just don't, and it just shows you can get all these players, but unless you can actually put them all together, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a team that can win a football match. So they may have got some players who are better than us, player for player, but they're certainly nowhere near as good a team as us at the moment. So, it's just our luck that they'll put in a performance suddenly on Tuesday.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
but it's the sort. If we're going to realistically get into the playoffs, it's the sort of match that we should and have got to win.
Yeah, we've got to put them to the sword, really. I mean, it's that's arrogant, but they are struggling. We need to just turn up, be there, be professional, get it done quickly, and just basically stop them from having anything to celebrate. So yeah, it's one of those things. Now I mentioned it when I spoke to Matt, and I have checked this so many times that I'm absolutely convinced it's correct. Right as of now, he has played 80 matches as a National League manager and 80 matches as an EFL manager. By the time we play Crawley, he would have played more matches as an EFL manager than a non-league manager, which I think is brilliant, and it's just amazing that, again, I've said this so many times, it's boring how clubs just get rid of their managers so quickly. And if you heard Matt yesterday, his little speech, which once again he got all emotional talking about what happened last season. But if you just heard him, it's like we're at the start of this journey, and I think he's 7th or 8th in the whole of the 92 longest serving, which is just insane. I mean, you'd remember managers like John Lyle, who was at West Ham for 400 years.
Yeah.
What do you think of this whole thing of just sacking managers? I mean, there's some of them who aren't even making the next transfer window, which is insane.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous. It's to blame everything on the manager, I think is very unfair. As soon as the 11 players cross that white line, they are, they're on their own, and they've got to take a lot more. Take a lot more responsibility, and you can't blame it just on the manager. It's easy getting rid of a manager, and it rarely seems to work. You get this supposed new manager bounce, which may 2 or 3 good results, but invariably they revert back to type, which more and more seems to sort of validate my opinion that it's the quality of the players that you've got in the squad. Ultimately, because you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear.
Well, I think it was Dave Bassett all those years ago, who, I mean, he sounded like a bitter manager. It might not have been him, but someone of similar ilk sounded bitter after he was sacked, and he just basically said it's cheaper to sack a manager than it is to sack 7 or 8 players. So it's just cheaper to replace one manager than it is the whole team. But when I spoke to Bruce, and he kind of told me off when I said that Matt was the easy choice, the simple, obvious choice, he kind of was like, well, hang on a minute, he wasn't. And we mentioned about Matt's sticky start, and he said it was never any question because Matt didn't have his players in the team. So we needed to let him build a chance to have his own players in the side. But anyway, let them do all their own things. We'll do our Sutton way, and we'll celebrate having Matt Gray for many moons to come, hopefully.
Unless he gets offered the Tottenham job.
Yeah, no, we'll stop talking about that.
Yeah.
Tottenham will soon start winning titles, though. That's fine, because Man City and Chelsea are going to be relegated to the conference, and give Tottenham a little fighting chance at the top end of the table. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, obviously we think we're going to beat Crawley, but do you want to stick your neck out and put a prediction?
Well, as it's obvious, we're never going to score 3 goals this season, because that's everybody said that. I'm going to go for a 2-1.
2-1, right? I'm going to go for a 3-1, and I'm going to just, you know what, I think we're minus 6 points this year now after yesterday on late goals. So I'm going to say we're going to be doing a draw. We're going to get frustrated, and we're going to score a couple of late goals in the last couple of minutes. So we'll get a bit more of a shaking your head at me.
I think we'd be 2-0 up, and then Telford will get 1. And
no, please don't let him score. Don't let him even be picked. That would be my best choice. I think we need to send someone down to Corey just to kick him up in the air for a little bit, just to make sure he can't play. I'll be sitting there all night panicking about it. But yeah, that about wraps it up. I will. There's nothing else to say. So hit me up on any of the socials at Sutton Podcast, and any comments. Don't forget, on the Ultimate Team now, someone has done this for me, and they've done it absolutely perfectly. If you want to have your input, so there's going to be a few weeks where I've got one guest coming on, but if you want to have your input, send me a video, send me an audio, and just say who you are, what player you'd like to choose, and who you want to replace. And I can slot it into the episode, and we can include your voice, because I know a few people have got opinions on the teams that I've chosen, or the team that ends up being chosen. But you've got to remember, you've mentioned John Faulkner, but there's going to be a load of people who don't even know who's heard the name, but would never have known him at all. When I spoke to Lenny Dennis the other day, which will be coming out shortly, he mentioned obviously Larry Pritchard, which again, brilliant player by all accounts, but there's going to be whole swathes of people who've never heard of these players. So if anyone wants their opinions to be on here, either come on as a guest and do it, or send me the video, and we'll get you included. And that wraps up another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. Thank you all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please let me know on any of the socials at Sutton Podcast. And you can just give me your thoughts and feedback, especially about how the thing is where I've tried to splice the conversations together. Didn't work on some of them, but I'm running out of time, so it is what it is. Thank you to all my guests, Neil, Josh and Matt, for your time. Take care, everyone, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.
United!